All right, hello again, and welcome to Theology on Tap. And I want to talk about Norm Macdonald has a show on Netflix, episode 9, Billie Joe Shaver. Now, once in a while, when I watch TV shows and movies, and they're so good sometimes that brings me to tears. And I never really thought that watching Norm Macdonald episodes is gonna bring me to tears. Well, usually it's because it's funny. But I watched his episode with his best friend, Billie Joe Shaver. A few times it brought me to tears. The only time I heard about him is through Norm Macdonald talking about him, but I never really paid too much attention. I grew up in California, and California is not a place to hear a lot of country. Billie Joe Shaver is a country singer. And or bluegrass, maybe sometimes we go, or honky tonk. I really don't know that many. I don't know the difference, to be honest. But it was cool. That episode was great because you get to meet a guy who, in my opinion, he just looked rugged. It seems like he has lived his life. He talks so freely. That's one thing I really liked about that. You could tell they really like each other. He has a great respect for one another. They're able to talk about life in a way, about drugs and songs and, what's important in life. And then at the same time, I know that Billie Joe Shaver and Norm Macdonald, they're Christians. And because of that episode, I went to YouTube and looked up his Billie Joe's songs, and mostly because Billie Joe had a chance to sing a few songs in that episode, and I just thought it was brilliant. I'm just a chunk of coal, Lord, but I'll be a diamond someday. That song brought me to tears because I heard about that song before, but I never heard it sung like that, and you could really see that the singer really has a lot of soul, right? He put a lot of soul into that song, and he's just being honest. And I think every one of us could, identify with that song, and because of that, it just brought me to tears. It's just wonderful. And then I looked up his songs, and you could tell that he's a Christian. He's got songs like "No One Could Beat Jesus." Is it "The Devil Made Me Do It the First Time"? But after that, he did it on his own. That songs like that, it's really, really good. Another thing I really enjoyed about that episode is as we get to understand Billie Joe Shaver, as well as Norm Macdonald, I think they're really good friends because they have certain values in life. And it seems to me like money is not that big of it's a big deal to them, I'm sure, but it doesn't run their life. Because I think with the kind of a talent that they have, they could be multimillionaires. But it seems that they are not. And in fact, I think Billie Joe Shaver actually said that it brought more hardship to his family because of the fact that he wasn't greedy. And I'm sure he feels kind of guilty about that. And that's something that I kind of feel guilty about too, is that you want to provide for your family and you have dreams about owning a big house and nice cars, so you want to, just spoil children and things like that. But because of your values or standards or whatever it may be, or just not having the opportunity, you just can't get the kind of money that you wish you had. But imagine if you deserved some of that money, a lot more money, but it was taken away from you. And that's what Billie Joe Shaver seemed to, talk about his life, how his songs were stolen. And I'm sure it made other people rich, but he never really fought for it. And I think that in that conversation, Billie Joe Shaver said that he could have fought for it, and he could have sued and all things like that, but he decided not to, because then if he went after another person just so that he could get paid or get recognized, then he would have lost his gift. And that was another part. It just brought me to tears. That his craft, his gift is so important to him that he didn't want to lose it, even though it means losing what really did belong to him. And I thought that was so Christ-like, so Christ-like. And I thought it literally brought me to tears. It was a little bit somewhat different if I compare it to Norm Macdonald's conversation with M. Night Shyamalan. Okay, never, right? Part of that conversation was about why is it that when you look at great songs and great movies, a lot of times it is made when they're young. All the songs, great songs, but then something happens. Their creativity gets lost, or something happens in life where a lot of times when you get older, you lose that. You lose that creativity. I don't know what it is. And they're talking about that. But with Billie Joe Shaver, you could kind of tell is that sometimes when we're young, the craft, the gift, your passion really matters. But after a little while, you lose that passion because the things in this world gets in the way as we get older, obviously, because we have to take care of our families and pay for different things and whatnot. And I really enjoy the fact that, that having that gift, going after your passions and not allowing things to get in the way of that passion is more important than, money, materialistic things. And I thought that was a good lesson, something that reminded me about just keeping yourself open to your passion and going after it rather than worrying about other things that could get in the way of it. And so I thought it was a great episode. I want to see more of that, especially living in California where I don't know that much about country music. Another part of this country, growing up totally different with different genre of music, understanding their life and all that, it was really, really good. And I guess one great lesson that I learned from their conversation is the fact that it seems to say, going after your passion and whatnot, don't letting other things get in the way, is that you can't allow life, families, friends, or money to politics and anything, get in the way of us living the kind of a life we believe is our purpose. I think that's important because a lot of times if you really think about it, my life and your life and many people's lives, we were told constantly growing up, don't do this, you can't do this, you can't do that, you shouldn't do this, right? It's never really the opposite of saying, what about this? I believe in you, I trust in you, I love you, regardless of whether you succeed or fail. There is no right and wrong, no success or failure. Just live your life. I think that'd be a great lesson. So the reason why I'm just a chunk of coal, Lord, but I'll be a diamond someday, that song really touched me because let's say we are just a chunk of coal. As we grow, we learn about life. But along the way, once again, things get in the way. But if we do not allow God to direct us in our lives, then we could never really become the kind of diamond that God wants us to be. Maybe not as clear, Maybe if we go after what we really want because to show off to the world or to, fight for some kind of cause and you want to live your own legacy behind because you care about yourself more than your passions and other things. Maybe you will become somebody, but you will never be the diamond that God wanted you to be, right? So don't let anyone get in the way of your passion, of your dream. I think because of that reason, when I listen to that song, that's what I'm reminded of. And that's why I think it brought me to tears. It's great, great stuff. I hope Norm does a lot more of these kind of things. Please bring another 10 episodes within next month. I will watch all 10 episodes in one sitting every single time. Thanks, Norm, for doing this. And this episode reminded me of a story. It's the old, I think it's a Jewish myth about a shoe repairman or a shoemaker, and who loved making shoes. And he would spend hours making the kind of shoe that he wanted to build. And he would build them, and people would buy them. And when people bring their shoes to be fixed, he would do it, sometimes taking money, sometimes he wouldn't. He was the kindest, the gentlest man, just minding his own business. He didn't care about money, fame, or anything. He just cared about his craft. And when God looked down upon him, as the tale goes, he said that this is the kind of a human being that I was waiting for. Doesn't care about anything else except for his gift. And he does it without complaining. So God looks upon this man and says, well, I'm ready to go back down to earth to bring salvation to the whole world because of that one man and his passion. And the devil didn't like that idea of God controlling the world again, for he is the prince of this world. So the devil didn't want to lose that position in life, in his life. So he says, well, I'm going to have to get in the way of this shoemaker. So he tried to bring beautiful girls, other things to a point where he could become famous and whatnot. But the shoemaker would not budge. He just really loved making shoes. So the devil was running out of options, and finally he came out with an idea. He said, I'll just make his shoes popular. And that's what he did. He made the shoemaker's shoes popular. And the demands got greater, and he was hiring people to make the shoes and stuff to meet the commands, and sooner or later he lost his passion, right? Because his shoe became popular. And I think that story is true to a point when we look for popularity and when we look for fame, then we lose our soul, right? So when he got popular and people started congratulating him, he lost his passion for making shoes, and God was so disappointed. He said, oh, now I have to wait a little longer until the next person comes who doesn't care about the riches of the world, who only cares about good, his passion, living his life for what he enjoys doing without judgment or nothing like that, right? Just being passionate about the craft. And this episode reminded me of that story. So, hey, thanks again, Norm. I hope the best. I hope millions of people watch the show and love it. I know some reviews are negative, but if you hear negative reviews, it's only because they don't get it. That's what I think anyway. I loved it. Please watch the show. If you don't like watching any of those episodes, please watch episode 9 with Billie Joe Shaver. What a great one. The best one. Brought me to tears. All right, so watch it. God bless you, and I'll see you next time.